But yeah, that was literally the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, to get that call trying to race home from Central Phoenix, it was like driving onto a movie set. I mean, police and fire everywhere, a helicopter, like it was horrible.
Hey there, welcome back to Above and Beyond, where excellence meets elevation. I'm your host, Jan Simon, and this season we're raising the bar, diving into the passion, purpose, and defining moments of leaders who don't just aim high, they live there. Big ideas, real stories. Let's get into it. Today's guest is Sally Harrison, a true pillar of the Mesa community and a leader whose impact can be felt across businesses, civic life, and service. After moving from Washington State to Arizona in 2004, Sally joined the Mesa Chamber of Commerce in 2008, bringing with her a background in marketing, events, and foundation management. Over the years, she served as multiple leadership roles, including Director of Programs and Vice President of Development. And since 2013, she has led the Chamber as President and CEO. Sally also serves as President of the Mesa Industry and Defense Council and sits on numerous boards and advisory councils supporting public safety, workforce development, and economic growth for the City of Mesa. Beyond titles and accolades, Sally is deeply passionate about serving others, especially veterans, combating food insecurity, anti-trafficking efforts, and the awareness of prevention of suicide. Today's conversation is about leadership, service, and the responsibility that comes with influence.
That's a lot.
Sally,
Thank
welcome.
you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Thank you very much. And you have like I would say a laundry list of boards and commissions that you serve on currently. I don't know how you have time.
Yeah, I actually have given a few up just because if I'm going to be on something, I think like most people, like you want to give it your all, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point, I think if you want to do a good job, you have to pick and choose.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I've served on a lot of boards over the years, but currently the one nonprofit that I continue to work with is House of Refuge.
Oh, okay.
But my heart's always going to be with a food bank just because,
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't grow up with a ton, but we had food on the table. We had water. You had your basic needs. And I can't imagine being somebody that goes to sleep without your kids having food.
For sure. I can't
Horrible.
even fathom that. And I was actually talking with somebody earlier today who were having conversations about being on the podcast, but she was talking about a nonprofit that she and her parents own and run, and it has to do with but
Foster kids.
foster care. There you go. And aging out.
Yeah.
And we live in our own little bubble, and I feel like sometimes we forget how the struggle is real for so many people, and then you see something like that where it's like, and I was the same. I mean, I grew up, and it's funny because TJ, TJ Tillman? TJ and I were having a conversation, and I'm like, yeah, I remember powdered milk. I remember very vividly drinking powdered milk that tasted like whatever was in the refrigerator that day,
Right.
and it's like we had, I feel like because my dad loved cheese, I feel like we always had cheese around. Now looking back, it's like, did we get WIC? Did we have WIC? Because we always had cheese and cereal. We only had powdered milk. We never had like real milk.
Yeah.
But I think that too, like we had enough to get by. There was always food. And it's funny because when my ex-wife now, but when my fiance, I guess at the time, the first time she came to my parents' house, she was like starving hungry. She's like, I'm so hungry. And you have no food. But it seemed like every time it was time for a meal, Mom whipped something up, and all of a sudden you've got this gourmet dinner in front of you.
Right.
It's like, I don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
And it was never prepacked. It was always from scratch. So anyways.
Yeah, we butchered cows every year.
Oh,
I
nice.
remember being at a bus stop, and then hearing the gunshot.
Yeah.
And my mom would say, don't make friends with those cows. But as a little kid,
Yeah.
I was always across the fence, playing with the calves
Yeah.
as they grew up. But love a good steak, so
Yeah.
that didn't bother me.
There you go. Well, I think that's a good thing. I don't know. I mean, I believe that's a good position to be in. It teaches you, right, where the food comes from.
Yeah.
I think we only did that a couple times where we had friends who we'd like do split a steak or split a beef. But we were always hunting deer, bear. I raised rabbits in 4-H and got tired of raising rabbits.
I just got rid of my 4-H ribbons.
Oh, did you?
I
Oh, that's
literally
funny.
found them when I was packing.
Oh, that's
and I'm
awesome.
like, what am I supposed to do with it? I took pictures so I could share them with my kids.
There you go.
I I'm not saving these because I don't think you're going to want
Right.
them at some point.
Kids aren't going to take them. I have a book that's got, I think, probably every ribbon I've ever won from, whenever I started swimming through 4-H and Boy Scouts and all the other things I did, and it's like, every night you flip through there and you're like, what am I going to do with these things? But so you're from Washington State.
The
Thank God the Seahawks won, right? That was a great, well, I shouldn't say it was a great game yesterday. I was really expecting the Seahawks just to roll over the top of Patriots.
Like the last few games. Yeah.
But
I was hoping.
It was pretty boring until the fourth quarter, I think.
Defense was great.
Started getting exciting, yeah.
It was a great defense game.
It was a fun game. It was fun to watch them beat the Patriots. The only thing that could have been better if somewhere along the way they could have destroyed the Steelers, and then at that point we'd like the Rams, the 49ers, the Patriots, and the Steelers would have all gone down. It would have been great. So
yeah, I was trying to interact with some friends from Seattle because I knew lots of them were actually at Lumen Field watching, and participating in all the excitement there. But my feed was nothing but, Super Bowl yesterday because of the connection back to my hometown. So, yeah.
That's awesome.
I didn't grow up in Seattle, but, I mean,
close
they were
enough.
our team, yeah.
You're from Washington. I will say it's funny all the time, and I get chastised for that, I'm sure, but it's ironic.
Yeah.
I used to travel all the time for work. We moved down here in 99 from Washington State. And I used to travel all the time. And I swear I never met anybody from Arizona that was actually from Arizona.
Yeah.
But I'd run into people at the airport or on the plane, and I'd be having conversations like, where are you from? I'm like, Washington. Oh, Seattle's beautiful. It's like, well, not really Seattle, but okay.
Yeah, but if I said Puyallup, where I lived for some years, and then I worked there for 20 years, most people don't know Puyallup.
Right.
So,
and it's funny because I know Puyallup because of Gig Harbor, which is where my grandparents were.
And my sister and her husband lived there for years.
Oh, really? There's a place in Gig Harbor, my favorite restaurant probably.
I bet I know what you're going to say.
What?
The one on the water.
That Shed Number 9.
Oh, no. I was thinking of one that I can't think of the name of now, but no, it's not that.
Okay. Yeah, there's a couple. There's one. So Net Shed Number 9 it's in the Cove, which is where all the net sheds are, but it's kind of breakfast lunch thing. And then there's another restaurant, maybe a couple, 3 buildings up the hill that maybe I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. My sister would know.
I think I might know. Yeah, I think I might know what you're talking about, though.
It's like a bar that has a dock that you can bring your boat up to, get off, and go in.
Yep. Yeah.
Kids are not allowed. I didn't know that until a few years ago. But
I'm trying to remember what that's called. Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. Actually, I do. So that's funny.
I might think of it. I'll text you at like 3 a.m. when I
you remember it.
Yeah.
My grandparents, my mom's parents, my grandfather was a doctor in Ellensburg, and then they moved after he retired to Olalla, which is outside of Gig Harbor.
Yeah.
And then we'd go to Gig Harbor all the time.
Stories about that area.
Oh yeah.
There's a book written about it. Yeah.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. We used to their house that they built was absolutely gorgeous, but they had in the master bathroom there was a mirror that would open up, like a bifold mirror, whatever, that opened up, and you could look out over the water.
Oh, that's cool.
And you could stand up there and watch the whales swim through, or the submarines go through every now and then. It was incredible. But yeah, I loved it there. And my grandparents lived on the other side of the bridge in Tacoma, so they were on this side, and then they moved to Gig Harbor later on. But
it's beautiful.
Yeah, I absolutely gorgeous. I was born on Whidbey Island, so yeah, which is
military.
Beautiful. No, my dad was a teacher.
Okay.
So, and then we moved to Eastern Washington. I grew up there. So the Seahawks.
Come on, let's not go there.
No, I know, right?
You
But sea
wanted that team
chickens.
to win.
Oh, I did. Oh, so bad.
Me too.
I was starting to get upset because like I said, I really thought that they were going to do much better. So
Yeah.
let's go back.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the early days. When you think about growing up in Washington, what's the first scene that comes to mind, and how do you think that shaped you to who you are today?
So it's twofold. My parents were much older when they had me. So literally, my mom thought she had the flu.
Oh, no kidding.
Oh yeah, she went to the doctor, and it's like it must be the flu. I'm so sick. And he came back, and he's like, "You're gonna have the flu for 9 months." And she had to go home and tell my father, and my 20-year-old brother and my 18-year-old sister with nobody in between us that she was pregnant. And my brother literally stopped talking to my parents and left for the Army.
No kidding.
Yeah, he literally said, and he actually told this story a couple of years ago, and I heard it from him finally. He said, "What do you mean you're pregnant? Your parents?" And it was like, yeah. So
You know how that happens, right?
yeah. Well, it's funny because when he was telling my cousins this a couple of years ago when I was home visiting, I'm just staring at him. I had heard the story from other people.
Yeah.
But he's like, "Well, I like you now." I'm like, "Well, gee, that's nice."
Yeah, right.
But I think because my parents were so much older, I mean, literally, like I grew up just around much older people, and they were in a small community, so Centralia.
Okay. South of Olympia, right? Okay.
Yeah. It was just a really giving group, right? They were always doing stuff for their neighbors, and they belonged to several different organizations. And I watched my parents be like officers in different roles in these different organizations. And I swear I thought I was born at the Grange Hall. Like, just, it's, part of my young life. But my brother became a police officer when he left the Army. He was an MP.
Okay.
And so growing up, everybody thought that the cop in town was my dad.
Oh, that's funny.
And it'd be like, your dad pulled me over. Or, I'm like, no, he didn't. And yeah, he did. Or I had your dad in shop class. No, you didn't. It's like, no, that's my brother. Nobody could understand that. But my brother also, because of his role as a police officer, became chief and retired as a chief.
Oh, wow.
But for 34 years, he was a cop. And so I watched him be really engaged in community things and, taking leadership roles in different ways to give back to the community. And that's all I really knew. I just thought everybody did that.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, when I was 18, I knew I couldn't live in Centralia. Unless you wanted to.
How many people are there? Like 6,000, 7,000? Or is it bigger than
No. I think when I left there in '84, there were probably 20,000 people.
So it's bigger,
It might
but
be
not big.
40,000 now, maybe. But yeah, compared to Mesa, it's
tiny.
like,
Yeah.
it's just an infant.
Yeah.
But I knew I couldn't stay there. It was hard because my parents were older at that point, and I lost my mom when I was I was 19 when my mom passed away, and 2 years and 2 days later, my dad passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, you grow up fast.
Yeah.
But I had the opportunity to take a job for a physical therapist.
Okay.
And I was 18, and I was like his first real employee. He had just started his own practice, and he was treating patients, and I was basically left to figure out all the other stuff.
Oh, wow.
Which I knew I didn't know a lot, but fortunately I had taken some, of the right classes in high school. But I knew when he handed me this recipe box that he had charges on recipe cards for his patients, that there was something better than that.
Wow. Oh my gosh, that's crazy.
Back before computers, right? So, I learned a pegboard system, but honestly, he had the same kind of family that just gave a lot. And so he afforded me the opportunity to get really creative. And over the 20 years I was there, we ended up, when I left, we had 20 clinics.
Oh, wow.
Up and down I-5.
Wow.
We had started a foundation, and we gave a lot back to each community that our clinics were in. So,
and that was in Puyallup when you started with him?
the first clinic was in Puyallup, and then we were pretty much up and down I-5.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It was like the best first job any person could get.
Yeah.
And I mean, I learned so much over those 20 years and met some incredible people and figured out that all this life is about relationships.
Yeah. So you kind of grew up together almost.
Pretty much. I mean, he was about 10 years older than me. In fact, he literally just texted me because he was in town for Barrett Jackson.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I mean,
that's awesome.
It was a great experience. I have some lifelong friends, that I met through staff, and actually a few patients actually still stay in touch, which is kind of crazy.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So your parents were older.
Much.
Your brother took off to the Army. when you were born.
Yeah, basically.
And you have an older sister?
Yeah, she's 18 years older than me.
Okay. And did she stick around or did she pretty much disappear?
No, she, I think, liked me.
Okay.
He was not a fan for a while. According to him, he came back and he liked me. So
Okay.
I guess that's a bonus.
Yeah.
But,
Did your family raise cattle or did
no,
you? Okay.
I mean, they would we had fields all around our house. And so
Okay.
they would get, basically, they'd go to the sale barn and get 2 calves and raise them. And then usually we, keep one of them.
Yeah.
And have some friends or whatever that would, end up with the other one.
Yeah. We had, it totally just popped into my head. This is a stupid random story. So I was living in Ellensburg working for Farmers Insurance, and the office was in Yakima. And my boss would buy 2 calves and raise them up, and then slaughter them every year, or
Best meat ever, right?
Yeah. And there were 2 ladies in the office, 2 Hispanic ladies in the office, who would every year fight over the heads of the cows because they'd be like, "That is the best meat on the cow is the head," and they just slow roast it and whatever.
According to some people.
Yeah, they would fight over that. It's like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, even after I left home, got married, literally my brother would call and say, "Hey, I'm, going and getting a couple of calves. Do you want one?" And so my best friend and I would basically go together and share, one of the cows. And I just, when you're placing your order for how you want it cut, right? It'd be like, okay, basically ground beef, steak, roast, and then you can keep the tongue and all the brains and all the other crazy stuff. I'm like, just consider it a gift to the butcher.
People who talk about doing tongue sandwiches and stuff, I'm like, no, thank you.
No.
That's gross.
I think I'm, adventurous when I try something new like sushi. But I can't do some of that crazy stuff.
I can't even, sometimes it gets in your head and it's like, I can't go down that path.
It can get in my head. It's not going to get in my mouth.
Right?
Not happening.
So what was childhood like growing up? Were you involved in school? Were you, we talked about 4-H for a second.
Yeah, so I was in 4-H. I did dance. I was probably one of the shyest people you would ever.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I had my little cluster of friends, but I was pretty shy. I didn't ever want the spotlight on me. It was a decent student. When I was packing recently, my son was going through some stuff, and he's like, "Whoa!" And he found some penmanship thing that evidently I won some award for my
handwriting. Oh, wow.
Penmanship, do you even know what that is?
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I was quiet. I mean, like I said, I have my friends, but it was, I look back to my kids and they were so outgoing and, just like the life of the party.
Did you play instruments or anything like that?
So I did, kinda. I took lessons for piano and organ. My parents actually had they had a piano when I was really little, and then my mom somehow ended up buying an organ. I wouldn't say I was really good at it, and I hate reading notes, so I could literally play some by ear.
That's it.
It was kind of cheating.
That's funny.
Yeah.
If you were to go and ask your friends that you were in high school with, your little clique, what were you known for in high school?
Probably just being nice.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to ever be that person to start something. There was always the group of kids that were troublemakers and picking at other kids and stuff, and that wasn't me. I couldn't do it. And so I just tried to be kind to people, and I think my kids got that.
Yeah.
Which is good, because I think there's something said to just being a good person.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Were you more of a smarter kid, more of a troublemaker? I mean, you said you're quiet, but quiet can come in a lot of different forms.
Yeah. Let's just say when I reached that teenage point in my life, having a brother who was a cop in a small town was a little bit more challenging. Centralia, so there wasn't a lot to do. You went to your high school football games, and there really was not a lot of other things, right?
Yeah.
And so there was a lot of cruising back then, hanging out with your friends.
It's like all we ever did. We had one stop. Well, no, I should say that.
Were you
We
in
had
Ellensburg
3.
then?
No, I was in Colville, so north of Spokane.
Oh, yeah.
It's like 5,000 people.
Right.
We had, you know what's funny is they have removed all of the stoplights and put in roundabouts. So there's like no stoplights in town anymore. It's like,
Nice. Yeah.
actually, there might be one, but it's just like, but
Yeah.
we used to cruise Main Street up and down. And if you went too many times, the cops would pull you over. So you kind of knew, okay, we got to stop now at the pizza place.
Okay. I'll tell you a story that I probably should not tell in a podcast, but I will, just because you brought it up. So I was with a friend named John, and he had a bright red car, which when you're cruising is probably not the best thing, right? And I don't even remember who gave us wine coolers, but we had some, and he got pulled over for speeding. And of course, the cops,
Knew you.
well, they didn't know they did until the one cop sent the other one over to my side and asked if we had, been drinking.
Any drinks.
And I said, well, yes, we each had one wine cooler. And he's like, and what's that? And I said, well, those are the ones we haven't had. So I, got asked for my ID, and that's when, I was just, sinking, right? Because my brother's at that point, he was not the chief yet. He was a sergeant, I think. Anyway, so I do this, and I hear them, across the top of the car whispering, and the other guy came over, and he's like, so, there's an unwritten rule, if you're going to drink, go to, and they said Chehalis, which is, the sister city, right? And I'm thinking, you're telling us to drink somewhere, really? And they made me dump it all out, which was fine. I get it.
Right.
I'm not a bad person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, but they said, we don't want to see you, cruising anymore. Okay, so we went and parked in the college parking lot, and a bunch of friends, right?
Yeah.
And literally, we were there maybe 5 minutes, and it was like putting a bar of soap in a bowl of water with pepper. You put it in, and all the pepper goes inside.
Yeah.
Well, that's how all the cars and kids were, right? They saw this cop come flying in, and literally all of our friends that were standing there talking to us just vanished. And we're standing there, and he got out, and he was screaming at us. And he's like, I told you to leave town. I said, actually, okay, looking back, probably not good to correct the cop. But what you said was that you didn't want us to cruise. Right. And we're not. We're parked. And that's when we got written up for underage drinking for one wine cooler. And
was it a Bartles and James? Do you remember?
I don't. But
so funny.
We literally, I'm like, just take me home. And at that point, I had already moved out, but I was staying with my parents. And so I said, just don't go down the main drag. Just go, we were maybe a mile and a half from my parents' house. But we went a side street, and a different cop pulled us over. So 3 times in one night. And at that point, I'm like, what? He goes, you're supposed to be going home. I'm like, I live in Puyallup. I'm trying to go back to my parents' house.
That's so funny.
So we went. And, of course, the next day I had to tell my mom. And she's like, this is going to be in the newspaper. Of course it is.
Funny.
There's nothing else in Central. So, yeah. And then she said, you better call your brother. And that was, the worst part, having to call my brother. And my brother literally said, I'm like, he answered the phone. I'm like, hey, Tone. And he's like, I know. I'm like, he's like, I come in and all the reports from the night before are on my desk. And, of course, they put yours on the top. And I'm like, I'm really sorry. And he's like, and he named the cop, and he's like, he has better things to do than harass a couple of kids. I'm like, anyway, that's
hilarious.
Yeah, it was not funny then. I can look back and laugh now, but
yeah,
yeah,
scared you, I'm sure.
It was horrible because it really was in the paper the next night.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my.
There was nothing else. That's big news, and you have to look through the fine print in the back of the newspaper for those little things.
Right.
And, but that.
Somebody is in there scouring for it, and and
my maiden name, when there's a cop, that probably caught a lot of attention, but
knew who it was right away.
Yeah, crazy.
Did you go to college?
I did not.
Okay.
No, but literally with my mom getting sick, she was diagnosed with cancer, and literally went through a year of hell.
Wow.
And my dad, this sounds horrible. My dad, when I was in high school, had 4 heart attacks.
Oh, my God.
And then a stroke. And then after my mom passed away, was diagnosed with cancer. So
Jeez.
college was not in my future.
No.
You know, I mean, it was just not. And I knew that I needed to get out of Centralia if I was going to do anything. And so I started college, and then literally, like right after I was married, you know, started college, and then found out I was pregnant.
Yeah.
And was sick for 9 months. So yeah, it just was not meant to be.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of different continuing ed and things like that. I don't know. I mean, if I had gone to college, I would have gone to be a school teacher. And then I realized along the way, I'm not really a big fan of kids. Like, I like my kids and
That's
I
funny.
like friends, you know, kids. But, and maybe it's the kids' parents that I'm not really fond of.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that probably would have been what I would have gone to school for. And that was my plan until my mom got sick. And yeah, watching two parents go through what they went through was really tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you feel running the chiropractic offices?
Therapy.
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
chiropractic.
I'm sorry.
Different world.
Yeah. How do you feel that helped shape you or prepare you for what you're doing now?
Yeah. I think there's every angle of that job played into this. And I'll give Randy credit for just like challenging me along the way, because literally he had been a PT for a couple of years working for another practice when he decided he wanted to open his own. And I don't know, I had told him that my dad had had physical therapy because of his stroke, and maybe that got me the job. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was fun. It was probably some of the hardest work I've ever done, just because he'd come back. He was doing home health between regular treatments, just trying to build a practice. And he'd come back from somewhere and say, I just signed another lease. And it's like, okay, well, you know, we can't quite open until we get, you know, like staff to work the office, and we have to get provider numbers for these clinicians, and like we have to buy equipment. And so we ended up getting into like a routine, because I mean, literally it was every maybe, I don't know, 6 to 9 months.
Wow.
He'd come and like, I signed another lease. I'm like, oh, where? And he'd tell me, it's like, oh, what do I know about that area, you know? But because he was treating patients, I was doing everything from, you know, scheduling people, typing on a typewriter. And if you made a mistake with a letter, you started all over. And like, what do I know about typing medical terminology? I mean, I could type really well and really fast, but when he's dictating and I'm listening to it and I hear sternocleidomastoid, like, okay, sound it out.
Right. Sterno.
Right? It was crazy. So, you know, you learn like persistence, and there was a lot of learning. I also was making deposits. I was doing, you know, like all the payables. Like I was pretty much doing everything. And when he told me that a young girl from high school had come in and asked if she could volunteer, I'm like, you better say yes. And she's still like one of my dearest friends.
Oh, really?
Yeah. She ended up finishing high school, she's a physical therapist assistant.
Oh, wow.
So she went to school, worked in, I think, 3 of our different clinics. And yeah, she's still a good friend. But at some point, you know, we're like, okay, how do you, because it's all a referral business, right? So how do you get doctors to refer to you? And so I was literally making appointments, sending him out. You got to go see this doctor. You got to see this doctor. And as we hired clinic directors to run other clinics, you know, scheduling them, getting them out. And the biggest thing was, you know, I went to school to be a PT, not to do marketing. And I'm like, can you talk to people? Like walk in a guy's office and determine he likes to have a drink, or he plays golf, or he has a family.
Right.
Just ask questions. People generally like to talk about themselves.
Yeah.
And I think once people figured that out, that this is a relationship business, it's a people business, then it became easier for all of us. When we opened the foundation, which was probably, I would say probably 4 years after we started the clinics, we decided that we were going to focus on doing different things in each of the cities and towns that we were in, because they were each different. I mean, we had a clinic in Seattle, but we also had one in Eatonville by Mount Rainier, right? Yeah. We're talking very small, rural, and obviously a big city. And every clinic needed something different, or every community, I should say. And then we also did some very large events, like an annual golf tournament to raise money for, that money went to Young Life. And we did it. His dad had died of brain cancer. My parents had died. And so we were very involved in Relay for Life. I chaired that event for, I think, maybe 6 or 7 years.
Oh, wow.
But that was one of those, all communities came together for those kinds of things and raised a bunch of money and awareness.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, we do everything from like coat drives in the, dead of winter, and, supporting Salvation Army. And like I said, each community just had different needs.
Yeah.
So I think those kinds of things, I don't know, stuck with me. And, you just put everything into it. It's just like this job.
Yeah. What in that time frame, kind of sticking in the time frame with the physical therapy?
Yeah.
Not chiropractic.
No.
Physical
We're
therapy.
friends of ours.
Yeah.
They refer to us.
Yeah. What was there a lesson you learned that either made you make the switch to an adult, because you started very young?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say an adult at that point, because you're probably still having some young stuff.
Yeah.
But was there a point at which it switched you into an adult? Was it a painful switch, or was it more of a...
Yeah. I think there's so many lessons that you learn. I mean, through just the work and the routine, I had my boys when I was 23 and 28, so still fairly young compared to nowadays.
Yeah.
But, it's like you got to stay organized to get the work done and the house stuff and take care of your kids and get them into sports and stuff. I learned, it's kind of funny, but it stuck with me, and I still know the woman's name. So we had a patient, and I was probably 6 months into my job. And, I was the first person that they talked to on the phone. I was the first person they saw when they came in the office. And a lot of patients come in and they don't feel good, right? They hurt and they're grouchy. And so, like, my goal, like, to myself was to, like, get them to smile and be nice to me and be friendly. There was a gentleman named Dale who, he came in, he came in multiple times for different things over the years, but the first time he had like a shoulder issue and he hurt. And he was just the grouchy older man that, like, everybody just wants to ignore, and I just refuse. Like, I'm going to make him happy. And you kill him with kindness kind of stuff. This lady, so I didn't treat patients, but I assisted with exercises and stuff when the therapists were off seeing other. Anyway, she, her name was Effie, so you can imagine how old she was back in 1984 or 5, maybe, when she was there. She was probably in her late 70s. She was a bigger lady, and she had a surgery on her leg and was in a fixator, so the big cage around her leg. And I had walked in to help her, and literally she was like, look at this, and she was saying how bad it was, and I'm like, I think that's the most horrible thing I've ever seen. And
oh no.
later my boss was like, we don't say that to patients. And I'm like, but it was really bad. He's like,
that's
and
so
we still
funny. Don't
say that, right?
Yeah.
But it was a really good reminder. Like, you got to check yourself, Sally, and don't like fall for that. Because she was fine saying it, but not my place to reinforce that that's really horrible looking. There were some open wounds, and it was just bad.
Yeah.
And she was sweet about it. Some patients probably wouldn't have been so nice.
Yeah.
But as far as like growing up, I look back and I think over time, when you're a kid, right? First job, second job, maybe, you pretty much feel like you have to do what you're told.
Yeah.
And there were some people that said inappropriate things and you just smile and ignore it, right? I look back and I'm like, yeah, at this age, like, I'm not willing to do that kind of stuff anymore, right? And I got there, I'd say probably in my 30s, but when you're young, I think you just realize, well, you think that I have a boss, I have, older people, I have whatever around me, and you just say yes and agree and put up with stuff.
Yeah.
And you just don't have to.
Yeah, for sure. 2004, Well, first, you have two boys.
Yeah, so
Do you have a daughter too, or no?
I have a daughter-in-law now.
Okay.
Which is great. So my oldest son took his life in 2006.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. I don't tell that to get pity from anybody, but
Well, no, but as a parent, I can't imagine.
Part of what makes me who I am.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so I had boys that were 5 years apart.
Okay.
And we had been coming down here for spring break, and every time we'd get home, so this would have been, like, my youngest would have been 3 when we started coming down here.
Okay.
So we were here probably for 7 spring breaks.
Okay.
And every time we get home, my then husband would say, "Don't you just wish we lived in Arizona?" And I'm like, no, like, our whole world is here. I mean, I did very well at my job, and he was doing well at his job. The kids were involved in sports and all kinds of stuff. And that last time we got home, it was, I mean, Washington, so it can get cold.
Yeah.
And when it's cold and wet, it's like you just can't warm up. And we got home, and it was dark, and it was late, and the house wasn't, like, warm yet. And he started with, "Don't you?" And I'm like, "Stop." And, like, if you can find a job where I don't have to start over, and the boys both want to move, we can talk about it. And I went to bed and didn't think anything else about it until the next night. I get home, I'm making dinner, kids are setting the table, and I hear him say, "Guys, your mom said if you want to move to Arizona, we can." And I'm like,
What?
That's not quite what I said.
Yeah.
And so we sit down, and he repeated, and my oldest son became the spokesperson, and they're whispering, and he sits up and he's like, "Would we have a pool?"
Jeez.
And his dad said, "Of course, every house in Arizona has a pool." And so they whisper, and it's like, "Okay, we're in." I'm like, "We should probably talk about this just a little bit more."
Yeah, yeah.
And 2 weeks later, he had 6 job interviews.
Wow.
And we were back here. He had 4 offers. He took one, and I'm like, I got to give, like, some notice here, because, like, I can't just walk out after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And it was it was April, and so it was getting toward the end of the school year, and I'm like, I'm not pulling them out for 2 months, So he came, and we stayed, and we packed and purged and sold a house and got the kids through the end of the school year. And we were here we moved into the house in July. We got here the end of June. Yeah, I know. And I felt like if we could do that, like, we could survive,
Get through it, yeah.
And then I think it was probably 2 or 3 months into living here that I hear my husband say to the boys, "Do you notice your sock drawer's always full?" I'm like, "Oh my God, I need to get a life." I was doing nothing but baking and throwing little parties for the, like, 7 people we knew.
Yeah.
And I evidently was doing a lot of laundry. And so my old boss called me in November and said, "I met 2 women at the conference, and, like, an annual conference that we used to go to, and they both are in Phoenix. They both have practices and would like some part-time marketing help." I'm like, okay, I could do part-time. Like, that would be cool. Well, I took one of the jobs, and part-time lasted about 2 weeks, and then I was back to
full-time,
50 hours. And
yeah.
I was there about not quite 4 years, and I had joined a Rotary Club because that's what I knew from Washington, and that's the way I met people. And the president of the Rotary Club was also the president of the chamber. Actually, when I started in Rotary, Kevin DeRosa was the Rotary president.
Oh, no kidding. Oh, wow.
Yeah. There's lots of stories
crazy.
like that, too. That was funny. But Charlie was the president of the chamber, and he called me one night and said, "I need you to come work for me." I'm like, "What?" So we met a couple of times and talked, and I thought, you know what? Working in Mesa would be much better than Central Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so I gave notice and took the job, and here we are.
Never look back.
No.
20-some years later.
Well, I've been here 17.
Okay.
Yeah, I've lived here 21 and a half years.
Okay.
But
17 with the chamber.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's kind of crazy, really, when I think about all that's happened and what got me to this point. And it's a lot of really good people being very supportive.
Yeah. And right people in the right place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What would you say was the biggest culture shock moving from Washington to Arizona? Aside from the death heat.
Yeah. We had some hot days, but it's kind of a joke, really, when
Yeah.
I go home in August and everybody's complaining. Although it's not a dry heat.
It's a different heat.
It is hot.
It's hard to explain to somebody because, people say, I hate it when you say it's a dry heat. It's like, but it is. Like when I would go to visit my grandparents or whoever in Gig Harbor, and it's 90 degrees, 95 degrees, and it's 80% humidity. It's like, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Can't do it.
It's not the same as
No.
No. Culture shock. Well, people ask frequently, why we moved. And I mean, obviously, the weather was definitely a part of it. Timing wise, my oldest was going to be going into high school the next year. So if we were going to ever do it, it made sense to do it before he got started in high school. But when I got divorced, I don't know, 14 years ago, something like that, my family and friends also, they were like, so you're moving home? I'm like, I am home. I'm like, no, I am home. This is where I belong.
Yeah.
And I think about it, and it's like, people talk about, I remember a member asked where an event was, and I said, it's like Gilbert Road. And she's like, oh, that's too far. I'm like, from downtown Mesa? And I'm thinking, in Washington, everywhere you go would be 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
Traffic's horrible.
Yep.
Cost of living skyrocketed.
Yeah.
Homelessness is a significant issue.
Yep.
The weather, obviously, is a factor. Politics are really ugly. I'm like, when I came here, it was like, wow, people are so nice and they're friendly and they're always smiling. And it's like, yeah, they're smiling because their sun's out.
Sun is out,
even if you're inside because it's hot, you're at least looking out at sunshine, right?
When you're counting the days by whether the mountain's out or not.
Right? I mean, I drove, so the last 13 years I lived in Washington, we lived in Kent.
Okay.
So Kent to Puyallup is, good half hour depending on traffic. Unfortunately, I was driving, against the traffic, but on a nice morning, the Mount Rainier would be out off of the 167.
Beautiful.
And it was like the best backdrop ever.
Yeah.
But there were some days that I would go to work and you wouldn't see a mountain at all. And coming home, there was no mountain.
Yeah.
And, it's funny because I've taken people to Washington and it's like, so where's the mountain? It's like, well, hopefully,
the sun comes out. If the
hopefully
clouds
tomorrow maybe
burn
is
off,
another day.
the clouds burn off, you'll see it.
Mm-hmm.
It's
When people talk about mountains here, it's like, no, that's not a mountain. That's a hill.
That's cute.
Yeah.
I mean, the mountains, there are more mountains than what people actually think there are here.
Yeah.
But they're not like Washington. No. For sure.
No, when you fly in and you can see the mountain.
Mount St. Helens and then Mount
Part
Hood,
of
Mount St. Helens.
I was still there when Mount St. Helens blew. I was in high school. We finished high school.
Oh, you were
the
still
day
there.
Mount St. Helens blew.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah. And so whatever grades you were getting, you got, which explains the driving of my ex-husband.
Mm-hmm.
He passed his driver's ed class. I'm like,
Funny.
Yeah.
You're a couple years older than me, but we were in Spokane. Oddly enough, my parents were at an Amway convention in Spokane when the mountain blew.
I remember that morning. Holy cow.
And it all came kind of east.
Yeah.
And it turned just pitch black. And we're
Right.
like, what do we do? It's like, hold your shirt over your mouth.
It was crazy, yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, my a neighbor literally called, and my dad hardly ever answered the phone, and it was like really early in the morning, and it was a weekend, and my sister had been in town with the kids, and my dad answered the phone, and he went out, like right out the front door, and it woke me up because I was actually sleeping on the couch because my sister was in my room, and so I'm like, what is he doing? Because when he got the phone call,
Could you see it from Central? You were in Central at that point?
Just all the ash, yeah.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you couldn't see the mountain actually
Okay.
erupting, but
Yeah.
I mean, the ash was coming down like snow.
Oh, it was snowing. I mean,
it was just gray and black.
I still have an envelope. That book I was telling you has all my ribbons in it. I have an envelope full of Mount St. Helen ash. Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, that was a nutty time.
Shoveling that stuff and driving across the state.
There's some places that you could still like dig in a garden and find ash because it was
No kidding,
just
so thick.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
We had a family reunion that next summer, and my mom and my aunt were out with baby food jars, like packing up ash for people to take.
Oh, that's
like,
funny.
What the hell?
That's so funny. That's awesome.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's one belief you had at 18 or 19 when you first started your career that right now, if you look back, you'd go to yourself, okay, that's really not a good thought process?
Oh, probably if somebody tells you to do something, you just have to go along with it. Because literally, I mean, I've said this to staff, like, when you're young, you think you have to, right?
Yeah.
Go along with people or do what they say. And when somebody makes an inappropriate comment to you as a female and you just smile and let it go, I thought that was the right thing to do. Like nothing's going to happen again. And I'm not talking about big stuff, but just offhanded stuff, right?
Yeah.
And that you just have to go along with everything. And I don't think today I would not teach my granddaughter to be that person.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stand up for what you know is right. And, don't ever embarrass somebody. But Randy, my boss, he, was the boss. And so he would, say things like he thought them.
Yeah.
And there would be some meetings that Beth, my assistant, and I would come back and be like, okay, we need to talk to you. It's like, you can't say that to people. And he actually told us, if there's something you don't like, don't embarrass me in front of everybody, but tell me.
Yeah.
And so we would. and he took it the right way, right? And I think he did, try and see it through our, eyes and make some changes. But
well, I think not to excuse it, but I think there is generationally.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was raised, kids should be seen and not heard. I mean, I literally have been told that a lot of times, Yeah. And so I think that just is part of the upbringing at that point, Now, is there a point at which it goes too far? Not to say it's too far to, you shouldn't say the things or physicality or things like that, but, children respecting adults and that whole thing. I mean, there's just weird spot in there. But if you had the opportunity, and I don't want to get into the chamber, so we'll kind of end with this, but if you had the opportunity to make a pivot at any point in your life, is there something that you would go back and say, okay, if I could have continued down this road versus going that direction, would you change anything?
I think the jobs that I've had, the people that I've surrounded myself with, have all been in that place at that time to support me, to teach me, guide me. And I'm not sure I would change much. I mean, obviously, losing a child, there's some things I would change, or be more aware of or whatever. But as far as like work and growing up, no, I'm not sure that there's anything.
Do you mind if I ask you about your son?
No, not at all.
So you mentioned some things. If you were to be able to say to somebody, maybe some warning signs or things like that, right? Because I hear a lot of times, and I don't have anybody personally that I think that I've seen that or been through that situation, but a lot of times you hear warning signs, or are there things that you.
So unfortunately for us, Bryce was 17. He straight A student, schoolwork came really easy to him, really just smart. One of the funniest kids that anybody probably has ever known. He also never met somebody that he didn't feel like he could be friends with. And he was always like the person championing the underdog.
Gotcha.
He was a senior. He drove a cute black Jeep. He worked at Starbucks and Foot Locker in addition to going to school.
Wow.
And when we moved here, when we brought grades, forward, he'd already done some of the things he needed to do to get credits. Oh. So he had an early dismissal, and so he got to do, more work stuff. he also had a crazy girlfriend, and he hid all that from us.
Oh, really?
His friends saw it and didn't say anything.
That's too bad.
Which, yeah, like they'd break up. I mean, when you're a kid, like a lot of boys broke up with me, or I broke up with, boys in high school or whatever, but he would, like, okay, we're broke up. And so he would want to go hang out with his friends, and then she'd come back and, like, no, let's get back together. And so this is from his friends telling me. And that last day, I'm not really sure exactly what happened, but she had started telling lies about him, and I think it was just too much.
Too much.
And I got a phone call from her mom basically saying that he had sent her a text and said that he had shot himself. And obviously, I'm pretty sure it didn't happen in that order.
Right.
But yeah, that was literally the worst day of my life.
Yeah.
I mean, to get that call trying to race home from Central Phoenix, it was like driving onto a movie set. I mean, police and fire everywhere, a helicopter, like it was horrible.
Yeah.
That being said, I had a 10-year-old, well, I'm sorry, at that point he was 12, but a 12-year-old that I needed to focus on.
Yeah.
And thank God I had him, because it would have probably been very easy to, just
spiral,
crawl back in bed and sleep my life away or drink my life away. And I chose to stay busy and keep Blake busy. And that was what I could do, like, to be healthy for me and for him. And at that point, from his friends, I learned so much that I didn't know or see, like from a friend level. I remember there was a girl who, I got to say, when I saw her at the memorial, we had a small one for family and some close friends, and then we had this very large event for students and teachers and people from work and that kind of stuff. And lots of people spoke, and this one girl, like, I have no idea who she was. She introduced herself, and then she told this story so he worked at Foot Locker at the mall, and the Foot Locker was across from the food court, which my guess is he spent a lot of time at the food court when he wasn't working, and probably never paid for anything because he was a pretty cute kid. Anyway, she said, my friends and I were there, and he walked out of Foot Locker, saw us, and stopped and said, how are you doing today? And she said, boys that look like that, and she pointed at this big picture we had, don't talk to girls who look like me. And I mean, it was heartbreaking. And so he stood and talked to them, and then went and got his food and came back and said hello again. And she said, we were there like a couple days later, and almost the same thing happened again. And I just thought, that's my kid, right?
Yeah.
Like, he just didn't judge. He just made friends with everybody, and I tried to be like him.
Yeah.
Because I've learned a lot from him, and I still do. Every time I think, okay, this is it, there's nothing more I'm going to, like, understand or hear about that's going to be new, then something else happens. Packing, recently, I came across a bunch of stuff, and there was some papers that one of his teachers sent me like 3 years ago. And this was 19 years ago.
Yeah.
He had a teacher that was retiring, and she sent me a bunch of stuff that she had kept of his. And there was a paper, and there were typed things that the teacher had sent out, and then you had to write like a story about it. And one of them was, what would you tell a younger sibling? And it was absolutely hysterical. I had my son Blake read it recently, and it's, like, little brother, I would tell you, like, be careful of your dad's family, because they're all crazy. Your mom's crazy, but his family's crazier. I mean, it's just funny stuff.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
He had a great personality. He would literally turn the volume off the TV and talk.
Like dub over what it was?
Yeah, if you were like a commercial, he would sell you something.
Oh, that's hilarious.
It was so much fun having him
funny.
around. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It's
Well, that's beautiful. I appreciate you sharing. I mean, I can't imagine, obviously, the pain that would cause, but then the having to get up and continue forward and finding your why to get you to that point. I mean, that's
the first few. I mean, when people say it gets easier, that's just BS, right?
Yeah.
It does not get easier. It just changes.
Yeah.
It's different, right?
Yeah.
You find other things to try and fill voids. It's not easier. I mean, the anniversary of his passing, or his birthday or Christmas is really tough because he loved Christmas. I found a note that he left me and his dad from Santa.
Oh.
You know how you write a note to Santa?
Yeah.
Well, Santa wrote us a note, basically. Hysterical stuff, yeah. But yeah, he was an incredible kid, and I mean, it's been an interesting 19 years. I will say the last like 6 or 7. There's been so much more teen suicide just in the East Valley, and I've become very good friends with a handful of people that are like me. It's like we're losing our children, and we're not supposed to lose our children, right? They're supposed to bury us.
Yeah.
And so I look at that and think, okay, well, what can I do? It's affecting all of us, right? It's not a parent issue. It's not a school issue. It's not a church issue. It's a community issue. And I think it's all of our jobs to come together and try and put a spotlight on this and try and let, our loved ones know that there's other answers.
Yeah.
Because I believe that you get into a position where whatever is so dark and you can't look past it to the next day, knowing that there's a whole, world of people that love you and care for you and care about you, and that whatever that issue is that's gotten you into a really bad place will get better.
Yeah. Well, and I appreciate you working with that community. I'm going to liken it to business, because I feel like in business we sit on our islands, right?
Yeah.
Especially as a small business.
Yeah.
It's like you're dealing with stuff that you think nobody else is dealing with.
Right.
And there's days where you go, I don't know if I can get through this one more day.
Right.
Right.
That's true.
But to be able to create and build a community that is okay to have the conversations, to be able to say, okay, let's discuss this stuff and help each other and just be there to listen. And unfortunately, I can only imagine as a young adult having been on that side where you basically create your life or meld your life around somebody else or an individual, and then you allow that person to manipulate you, good and bad.
Right.
And then your self-worth completely diminishes to the point where why am I even here?
Right.
And I just can't imagine. So thank you. I appreciate you sharing.
No, I appreciate you asking, because honestly, I obviously don't want to see other families have to go through what we have. I mean, it's destroys a family.
Yeah.
It's something that I think most married couples aren't able to stay together.
Yeah.
But I know, would want something good to come out of this.
Yeah.
So we've had some pretty significant, like, large events pulling people together. We're having speakers and stuff. My son Blake basically has said, I'll talk at an event. And so he's done that a couple of times.
That's
and
cool.
I'm like, I can't do that. Like, I can put the event on. That's what I do,
Yeah.
right? But he's been a real champion for that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there a specific organization that you're involved with that we can kind of get out to people?
There's several, and we're bringing in a speaker. Her name is Emma, and she's actually a attempted suicide, and so she's a survivor, and she's going to speak. I'm working with the city right now.
Okay.
And I'm hoping that it's going to be within the next 2 or 3 months.
Okay.
So I can get you some information.
That'd be
once
awesome.
That's done. But do you know who Alex Boyer is?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we brought him in. We partnered with Copa Health and had a bunch of nonprofits that work in this. I mean, people, years ago when this happened, like, people weren't talking about it. It was like taboo, right? Nobody wanted to talk about suicide. And you'd hear the 22-a-day veteran suicide, but you wouldn't hear one-off stories. And I started just Googling things, and I found a woman who had lost an adult son to suicide. And we had lunch several times and just connected, but there just wasn't any, like, support out there. I mean, maybe if you really dug, you'd find something online.
Right.
But when we started seeing the numbers get really big here over the last few years, I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, I picked up the Sunday paper when I got to the office Monday morning, and the headlines in the Tribune said 6 kids in 5 weeks had taken their life in the East Valley. And I'm like, what the hell? Like,
Yeah.
and I didn't even read it. I looked, and it was written by a reporter named Jim, and I called him because I knew him, and I'm like, I need you to come to my office. And he's like, okay, when? I'm like, today. And he did. And I said, who's this woman that you've quoted? And he said, her name's Katie. And I said, yeah, I see that, but who is she? And so he introduced me to her. And
Katie McPherson?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And so, we've been, just kind of tracking and
Yeah.
trying to, I've pulled Katie in so much because
Do you
she
think
works
there's
in
a-
that world, right?
Yeah.
She understands it, and she's got
She's amazing.
stats for
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. She's incredible when she starts.
Oh, I just sit there and go, you
Yeah.
preach it, girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, I don't
It's-
know that side.
it's
I know
incredible.
the other side.
Yeah.
But,
Does there seem to be a common theme, which is probably a really bad way to
no,
ask
there
it,
is.
of the kids that choose suicide?
Yeah. I think it's, and it sounds really simplistic, but I don't think that kids know how to deal with failure. I think that the whole every kid gets a trophy thing sucks.
Yeah.
Because that's not the world we live in, right? And I think instead of my son, who, made a really bad decision, he could have come to us and said, I am frustrated, I'm mad, I'm hurt, whatever, and we could have helped him through it, got him help, whatever. He felt like that was his only choice. And it's just not that way.
Yeah.
But kids don't know how to cope. We've heard some of these kids that we were tracking when that horrible newspaper article came out, there were two boys, and it was within days of each other, and both kind of the same situation. They both had like scholarships for sports. And one got drunk and went to a football game, got caught, lost his scholarship, and hung himself a few days later. Okay, you messed up.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
That's not...
Right.
No, you don't have to end your life.
It's a bump
with
in
that
the
kind of
road.
shit, right?
Yeah.
We all have mistakes. I mean, holy cow, I think about, some of the dumb things. Well, driving in Centralia after one wine cooler, right? But,
Yeah. And it seemed like the world at that point, because I think, and I'm sorry, I'm going to interrupt for a second, but my son, who just graduated with a degree in flight, and we've talked multiple times about possibly military path, because they have to get, now he's got to get all the hours, and he's struggling to get hours and that whole thing. And it's like, well, what about Air National Guard? He's like, but they want a 10-year commitment if I become a pilot. It's like, 10 years is going to go so fast. I mean, it's a blip on the radar.
It is.
But as a young, and he's now not young, he's 26, but, when you start looking at that, it's like, 10 years is half your life,
I really do think that it's not, maybe not every kid, but I think it's that not everybody gets a trophy, right? We make mistakes, we need to learn from them and move on, and some of these kids just couldn't face the mistake.
Yeah.
And that was like their answer to the error. And it's just a shame because selfishly, now that I'm at the chamber, we're losing workforce, right?
Right.
We're losing some really smart kids that have just made an error and then a really bad decision to follow. And it's just wrong.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Let's talk about the chamber for a minute.
Yeah, sure.
On a lighter note.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No,
I
that's
appreciate you talking about that though, because I feel like we need to get that out. That people need to be able to talk.
Well, I mean, I think we all have things that shape us, right? And like
Yeah.
I said, when that happened, I mean, the first year you walk around and, like, for me, I was kind of numb that first year, but I chose, because I couldn't just sit and watch TV because there's just too much going through. So I kept busy, whether it was donating time or crafting or baking or whatever. I had to have something to keep me occupied. And I don't sleep much at all. I haven't since I was a teenager, but, it's intensified because I just have too much in my head.
Going in your brain.
Yeah.
You ever tried yoga? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm
So
just joking.
really quick story. Bryce actually was in a yoga class, and I met his yoga instructor, and I mean, she was like the best person ever, but he had a flu, I think, like when he was maybe 16, and came home after missing a week of school. And I'm like, so how do you make up for your yoga class? And he said, oh, Miss Smith said I have to teach you yoga. I'm like, huh? is this punishment for you or me? And he's like, Mom, seriously, I have to do that. You have to sign off saying,
That's
like,
so funny.
I'm like, okay. He goes, we have to spend an hour. I'm like, okay. And so literally here we are, in the living room. And of
Yeah.
course, at that point we had a really large dog, and, like,
Dogs
is this
all over you, yeah.
like the whole downward dog thing? Cause like he's in our
Yeah.
face. Right. But yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. Yoga.
The reason I say that out of joke is because Christine doesn't sleep at all. I swear she's awake all the time. But it's the same thing, just constant
Yeah.
stuff going through her head, lists, what do I need to get done? I've got to do
Yep.
this, I got to do that.
Oh, yeah.
Da, da, da. And if somebody at some point, you work yoga, meditation, whatever. She says, I don't need somebody to teach me how to breathe. I do that just fine. But
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah.
okay. So you've spent 17 years
Yeah.
at the Mesa Chamber of Commerce. You didn't start out as the president and CEO.
No. Charlie hired me to put on events, and it was an old boys club when I started.
Yeah. I think that most of I don't know, smaller communities, I think the perception is that the Chamber of Commerce is a travel agency.
So we evidently, as a chamber, are looked at the know-it-all of everything, right? I mean, we've had people, literally a woman from West Valley called years ago and said, how do I get to Mesa making only right-hand turns?
Oh my God. No way.
I am not joking.
That's
probably
funny.
3 years ago, our receptionist had a phone call, and it was a gentleman asking, where did I leave my dry cleaning? I can't.
He literally asked you where he left his
Yes.
dry cleaning.
He needed to go pick it up. He knew had to be ready, and he didn't know where the dry cleaner was.
Did he know the name of it or anything?
I heard Teresa saying, well, there's probably, we're in Mesa, like it's a big city, there's probably a lot of dry cleaners. Like, can you give me, and she is a saint on the phone, and she's lived here for a very long time, so she knows a lot about the city. But yes, people call a Chamber of Commerce thinking that you have the answer to everything.
Oh my God.
Yeah. We had a woman who used to like work for us, like a switchboard, right? And she would call us for phone numbers. And it's like, we're not information.
I'm going to start crank calling the chamber asking where I left my booze.
Yes, you should ask Sarah.
Sarah,
Yeah.
I know I had a bottle of vodka. I know I left it on the counter.
Yeah. Somewhere. I know it's somewhere.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So I put down a couple of questions. I wanted to make sure that I asked you
Okay.
because I couldn't memorize them in my head. But looking back, how has your definition of leadership changed from when you first joined the chamber to now serving as a president and CEO?
Well, when I first joined, I obviously had, a boss, and he had a team, right? Yes, I was part of that team. Then he retired, and a gentleman named Peter came in. He was there just about 14 months and left with stage 4 glioblastoma. So the board was going to, replace him right away, do a search, and I'm like, he's in surgery today. Let's
Can
give
we
him
wait?
a little
Yeah.
bit of time, and then hopefully he's going to come back, right? Because
Yeah.
he hadn't been there that long. And I said, I'll step up and I'll do more. I'll do his job and mine. And I worked every day for 5.5 months, every single day, because I was doing my job and his job on top of that. And at that point, the board chair came in and said, you're doing a great job. I'm like, thanks, I'm so tired. And he's like, well, the board wants you to take the position. I'm like, oh, thanks, I don't want it. And he was like, what? I said, Jim, that legislative piece, that political piece, that's not for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, but you're doing it. I said, because I have to. That's not my favorite part. Unlike some people like Sarah, who does it well and loves it, and she would say she hates it, but
She would say she hates it.
But
Then she would say Kathy, who did it well,
Right,
loves
yes.
it. But Kathy did love it. She was
oh
a
God, yeah, she loved it.
policy
Yes,
hound.
she was. Anyway, he got up and walked out and said, as he's walking out, you can think about it, I'll be back in a week. Oh, he did say the board, and we can hire a lobbyist. They can help you. And I'm like, I don't think you know what you're asking for. And he walked out and came back a week later, and I had talked to a good friend from Washington, and she's like, don't be a fool, take the job. If you don't like it, you can quit. And if they don't like it, they'll fire you. I'm like, well, I don't want to be fired. Come on. But the staff was like, you're already doing it. Just take the job.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, if I don't like it, I can quit. And obviously I've hung in there. But I think Bob reminds me, so our communications director, of when I interviewed him. And he's been with me over 10 years now. He's like, he'll tell other people. When she interviewed me, she's like, if you have an ego, leave it at the door. But I think that that's probably gotten to be more significant in my head, because this isn't about us. This is about our members. This is about our community. And we don't have egos. Like, we really do need to check those, right? Because this is not about me or our chamber. This is about us helping members, do well in their business and going from small to medium business, or, like the progression that's supposed to happen, or frankly, through COVID, just trying to help save a business.
Yeah.
It was a tough time. I've learned a lot.
If you ran into somebody on the street who knew nothing about business, and you said you were the president CEO of the chamber, and you had to tell them what the chamber was, what is it?
It's funny because Blake has said, so-and-so asked me, my friend asked me, like, so what is the chamber? Like, you said your mom works for a chamber. Is that a bank? It's like, no. And honestly, I think what we do, not who we are or what the chamber is, we're here to protect, promote, and advocate for our businesses. And I tell everybody, through COVID, I believe we became a chamber of community, not just a chamber of commerce. And that includes, the things like our initiatives with teen suicide, or the anti-sex trafficking stuff that we've done, or opening the Veterans Center that we did. I think if we're going to be a good chamber, we have to look at what's happening in the community and then bring some of those opportunities back to our members, because not every business joins the chamber for the advocacy piece or the things that we do on a daily basis. They're joining for the extras. They want to be part of the community and feel like they're giving back and they're doing something bigger than just their daily world.
Yeah. That makes sense. You are at what we would consider an intersection of business, community, and politics. Most people think the chamber is part of the political arm of the town.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When those interests compete or conflict, how do you personally decide where to lean and what to do?
We were just talking about this. I'm trying to think who is over, and we were talking about this. Obviously we all have our own beliefs, right? But for us as a chamber, for me in the role I'm in, my personal stuff doesn't get to play out, right? Whether it's political or religious or whatever it might be. My sister has tried to like jump on a post and defend me, and I'm like, hey, back off, because you're, these are chamber members sometimes that are not agreeing with certain things. I got invited to the first Trump inauguration by McCain, which is kind of ironic, I know. But I went because, it was the inauguration of a president. Yeah. And so I went. I took our corporation commissioner, when he was council member, Kevin Thompson, with me, and we had a great time, and, had a great visit with a lot of different people in D.C., but I got a lot of flack for that. And it's like, he's our president. If most people had an opportunity, they would meet any elected president. I would have. Yeah. But I go back to, are the people, the groups, the associations that we have, are they focused on business issues? Because that's how we make our decisions, whether it's through the alliance or our chamber, of anybody that we're going to support or work with, right? And then once they're elected, it's our job to support them and or guide them the way the chamber wants, things to happen. We are not funded by the City of Mesa, but I consider us really good partners with the city, not just the council and the mayor, but the city manager and a lot of the departments. I consider a lot of people with PD and fire some of my best friends, but it's important that we have that good relationship, so when something comes up, whether it's just a general business issue or specific to a business that is having trouble with a permit or whatever it might be, that we can go to bat for them. It's always through a business lens, right? Yeah. Regardless what the issue is, whether it's political or, just chamber stuff,
Yeah.
what we have to focus on.
Being in your position, having let's say town staff or city staff, mayor, council, even some of the community leaders come to you and present you with issues or ask you to take a stance on a specific item that's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
Does that, I mean, obviously you look at it through the business lens, and that's one of the things we talk about quite a bit with people is like when people say things to me, I'm like, look, my personal stuff doesn't really matter.
Right.
You know, how do you combat that in the public eye with regards to who you are individually and the business? Are you able to separate those?
You know, it's funny. You know what IOM is, right?
Mm-hmm.
Institute. So I went through that program several years ago, and I remember the first day I had a really great class. I mean, some of those people will be friends forever, but a woman named Kelly, who is a ball of fire, was sitting next to me, and at some point toward the end of the first day, she's like, so, you know, are you on like social media? I said, yeah. She goes, okay, can you write it down? So I write it down. She goes, so what's your chamber account? And I'm like, what? I said, well, Mesa Chamber. She said, no, yours for the chamber. I'm like, it's hard enough to keep up with one platform like for yourself. And she's like, oh, so you like have one? Don't you worry? I'm like, listen, I need people to know me for who I am. And if somebody doesn't like what they see on a Saturday versus a Tuesday, I'm the same person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like try and put on a facade for anybody. And what you see is what you get. Of course, I'm not posting crazy things, right?
Right.
I mean, I might be a little crazy, but I'm not like doing inappropriate things. So that's not part of my world anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, this is what you get.
Yeah.
So you can like it or leave it, I guess. But, you know, I try to always remember, you know, when somebody says, can you do this for me? It's like, okay, I can do that because I would do it for anybody else, right? So as long as it's fair, it's like a Rotary, you know, the fair to all concerned, right?
Yep.
I've been a Rotarian for years, and I kind of feel like that's like my motto, right?
Mm.
That whole four-way test. And I wish more people could look at that and live it, because I think if you can do that.
What is that, just in case somebody who's listening doesn't know?
Oh, gosh. Okay, so.
I'll just challenge you.
Yeah, you are challenging me. So is it fair to all concerned? Is it beneficial to, will it build goodwill and better friendships? And there's a fourth one. But, I mean, it's basically.
Basically like a litmus test for items to make sure that it's good for all.
Okay,
not
now
just...
I'm going to be at Rotary on Wednesday and be like, oh, my goodness.
Somebody from Rotary is going to listen to this and go, oh, my God.
Probably. Sorry, Rose.
That's funny.
Yeah. But, you know, I want to be able to sleep at night. I don't sleep very much, but I want to be able to lay my head down and not be worried that, you know, I did something wrong or intentionally or told an untruth.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to be in a position like that.
Yeah. That's
I can't imagine people who live their worlds like that.
It's interesting to me. I used to get in trouble as a young child for lying, attempting to lie. And what I learned from those early days as a kid, I couldn't remember what I told people. So it's like I just had to tell them, like somebody asked, I'm going to tell you the truth because then I don't have to worry about what I told you.
And we were talking about this not long ago. I'm at an age where I can walk down the hall to tell Bob something in the office, and I get there and go, hold on, I'll be right back, because I got to go back to my desk and like look at something or back to an email. And then the sad thing is, once I actually walked down there a second time and went, oh my gosh, and walked back.
That's awesome.
So now I'm like, can you just keep a Post-it note like on the corner of your desk? Because by the time I walk back to my desk to send an email, I'm like, I've forgotten it.
That's so funny.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, like I would not make a good liar.
Yeah.
Because I would literally, I would blow
remember.
it. Like
yeah.
I would, yeah.
Just can't remember. Where can people find out more about the Mesa Chamber of Commerce if they're interested?
So, I mean, obviously they can call me or any of the team. We answer our phones and we return emails. And I know that that's hard for some people to do and believe that people still do that, but we get told all the time, you know, I tried calling so-and-so and I still haven't heard back. And I'm like, well, shame on them, because that's what we do, right? We are in the business of people. Yes, businesses are our members, but we're dealing with people, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we're reacting to their needs. And so they can always reach out to any of us, or they can just come to an orientation. And I mean, it's open to anybody. We get a lot of, obviously, new members, but we have members that have new staff, so they're sending them. We have prospects that come in and they're like, I just want to learn more. It's like, well, yeah, here's a good place to do it.
It's just Mesa Chamber of Commerce.com or
mesachamber.org.
.org.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Nonprofit.
Yep.
Now, Mesa is, by footprint,
Yeah, it's a big city.
massive.
It is.
How do you service
right?
the entire city?
Yes,
Sorry.
city. Well, it's funny because when we came here, like when we moved here 21 years ago,
It wasn't that big.
I moved to Southeast Mesa, right?
Okay.
And there was the swap meet, and there was Sunland Springs, the over 55 community, and the Desert Ridge High School, which my son said it looks like a penitentiary.
Yeah.
Sorry, Desert Ridge, but there really wasn't much else past Power Road.
Mm-hmm.
And now that area of Mesa
crazy.
is the center of the universe,
Yeah.
right? I mean, with all the growth that we've had in District 6, that's kind of been one of the bigger challenges, because if you've got something in Riverview and expect somebody from the Gateway area to come for a midday meeting, if it's an hour meeting, that's at least a 2-hour
Yeah.
block for them, right?
Easily.
So we've had to try and find different things in different areas of town, because I mean, you just can't expect people to be at all those things all the time. We did over 500 things last year with
Wow.
leads groups and the ribbon cuttings and all the stuff that we do. So it's a lot of divide and conquer. And we stopped with when I started, there were multiple like lunches, networking lunches, and we started more committees, and we kind of dropped some of those networking things because not everybody cares about those.
Gotcha.
I mean, yes, it's great to come, but like Boeing's not going to come thinking they're going to sell an Apache, right?
Right.
If they could sell one Apache, I think they'd come every time. But,
Yeah, right.
But I'm probably not.
Can
gonna
you
have-
buy an Apache off the line?
off the line? No, you could pre-order though. Yeah.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah, but yeah, Mesa's, I mean, it's a huge city. It's tough because we also, I mean, like any chamber, you also have those one-person realtors, and then the, 30 people at a bank, and then the 4,500 employees.
Massive employee.
Going, right?
Yeah.
And so the difference between them, I mean, that's our challenge to rise up to, is how we meet the needs of not just the type of business, but the size. That's the challenge every day. What are we going to do for these people?
Yeah.
But it's the fun challenge, right? You learn a lot when you actually stop and ask questions and want to help somebody with
Yeah.
their business. And I keep saying, we're an extension of your team. Look at it that way.
How many people are on your team now?
10, and I think we have 3 or 4 interns. I can't keep up with the interns.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
we have some really great young people, which has been very fun.
And forgive me,
Yeah.
I should probably know this. The Mesa Chamber, is it still in the downtown area?
Yeah, so I have been there 17 years. We have been in 3 buildings. We were in a building that is now economic development, and we moved out of that building into the Jackson White. It's a law firm.
Oh, okay.
We moved into that building. We outgrew our space after a few years, so we moved onto the Mesa Community College campus. We were there 8 or 9 years, and had the opportunity to go back to the Jackson White building in a different suite, and it's worked out really well. It's a beautiful building. It's kitty corner from City Hall. I can walk to the studios, which is, right next to ASU.
Yeah.
I can walk to City Hall. I can walk to Main Street by a block, back to economic development on the next block. It's perfect
Yeah.
for what we do, and, for our members to have access.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What should we know about Sally or the chamber that I haven't asked?
Oh, geez. I
We know you're a Seahawks fan, so
I am, yes. I have a granddaughter now, so like,
Really?
my world has changed.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
How old is your granddaughter?
my son got married 2.5 years ago. And of course, I'm like, hey, you guys have been together a long time now. You have a house already. Come on, let's get started, right? And they were both like, relax, Mom,
Yeah.
like settle down. She is 19 months.
Oh, wow.
And just the best thing ever.
That's
like,
awesome.
She's very smart. She's talking a lot. She loves her Gigi, and I just can't get enough of her.
That's awesome.
It's so fun. The best part is that when I decided to move out of my house, the kids are buying my house. So we close in a couple of weeks.
How cool.
So it's a house meant for a family, not for me and a little dog.
Yeah.
It's a big house. And, Blake was 10 when we moved in. So.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've all been packing and purging and selling stuff, and
And he could just leave all his stuff there. You don't have to worry about it.
it's funny because literally I'm like, hey, I need you to go through all this stuff, and it's like, well, if you're keeping it, just move it back into the closet.
Right?
Yeah.
Just pack it away.
It's great. They're excited to have a bigger house. I'm excited because a bigger house now means another grandchild. But yeah, I love our community, and I feel really fortunate to be in Mesa because there's so much opportunity.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to come on.
Thank you. This was fun.
Yeah. Is there anything we can do to help you?
Listen, our members need more members, right? Just like with any chamber. And I tell everybody that says, I'm looking at different chambers, like, listen, if you've got the time and the money to be in multiple chambers, you should. Most people don't have a lot of time, and they don't have a lot of funds, especially smaller businesses. I just think that you look at where your opportunities are and what is a good fit. We'd love to talk to anybody and see if we are a good fit. I have 5 people on my team that have been here over 10 years.
Wow.
And I think that says a lot just for the stability of our team. But it's fun. We get creative. We like to do new things. Right now we're working on State of the City, which in Mesa is a really big production.
I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
sure.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and you guys are all split out into regions,
Districts.
zones, districts.
Districts, yeah. So District 6, where I have been living until recently, is where all that growth is in Southeast Mesa, and it's like on fire. Yeah. It was that build it and they'll come, right?
Yeah.
Apple came, and then it's just been kind of the snowball effect.
Crazy.
Yeah. It's pretty exciting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, hey, I appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on, taking the time.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's been great getting to know you better, and thank you for sharing
No,
everything.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's been fun. This is Sally Harrison, and I went above and beyond.
Stories we share beyond the fairways, friendships grow in APN's embrace, opportunities flow. No happy talking, just real deals, authentic connections, the kind that heals. From Palm Springs to Pine Top Grace, APN's network spans every place. Above Pond Network, we're going above and beyond, reaching new heights. In networking realms, scaling the heights. From mixers to golf, our spirits unite. APN's the beacon, our guiding light. So here's to APN, where dreams align. In every connection, a chance to shine. Above and beyond, we'll always strive. In APN's network, we truly thrive.